Welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast, where we talk about struggles and celebrations that leaders and entrepreneurs experience on their journey to success. I'm your host, Kristina, and I'm passionate about helping you achieve massive amounts of success at work and at home. We'll talk about all things people and organizational wellness, share relatable stories, and feature insightful guests because quality people and processes are at the heart of every success story. Ready to learn, grow, and have fun? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to the Business Building Blocks podcast. I'm your host, Kristina Schmidt. Today, we're going to talk about something that I think will help a lot of us because it's something we tend to forget about as we are embarking upon change and upon something new, and is those things that we need to do to prepare for change. Back when I was first learning lean manufacturing, so early in my manufacturing career, I remember this diagram, I guess you could say, that was in one of the training sessions, and it was essentially a bunch of stairs going like this. So if you're watching YouTube, you can see me, but just picture stairs. And on each stair, there was a little arrow that pointed backwards. So basically, every time you step up, you have a little bit of chaos, which was indicated by this arrow, and it brings you back just a tiny bit. And it just has stuck with me through many, many years and many, many other diagrams that have been presented to me. But essentially, what that infographic was trying to show is that every time you introduce change, so every time you try to take a step up or you do something new or you grow, you introduce a little bit of chaos. So if you think through that, it makes sense, right? Because you are starting the learning process all over again. And especially if you're changing something like a huge system or changing several people or an entire team, you're introducing an unknown. And no matter how much you prepare for it, there's still going to be learning and there's still going to be a little bit of chaos. The problem is that so many of us don't prepare for it properly, and we don't do a few of these things that I'm going to go over today in advance of the chaos. And then we start to try to scramble because we realize we needed it amidst the already changing chaos that we purposely introduced. We now have more chaos that now needs to happen again. And it throws everything off just a little bit more. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to review with you 4 things, well, technically 5 things, but 4 things and one very strong underpinning thing that's not really like a tick the box sort of thing that are going to help you prepare for change and help you just with your overall culture so that you can be prepared for change even when you're not purposely introducing it. So let's get to it. So the first thing that you need to have before you start the change is very clearly defined roles and responsibilities for everybody. I know we say this a lot and we think we've done this because people have job titles, but again, when we introduce a change, there are more things that happen, or sometimes somebody has to let something go, or someone else has to cover for them, or there's new tasks being introduced that maybe they weren't done before. So we have to be very clear about who is doing what and very, very particular in making sure that they're doing it and that they understand that they're doing it and that everybody else understands that they're doing it, and maybe defining what it is as well. But one thing I want to warn you about, and I hear this so often, particularly if there are a couple of owners or you've kind of run things as a team before. But I want you to remember this because it should stick with you, is that if everyone owns it, then nobody owns it. So if you say, well, yeah, Tracy and Neil, they do that. Okay, but they can't do it. Which one of them is responsible for it? Because if maybe Tracy can't, keep up with, her end of it for that one week, and Neil thought it was being taken care of and maybe something's never been done. Essentially, what happens is you end up, something will drop, something will fall, or somebody won't pull their weight or something along those lines. But essentially, just very clearly identifying one person who is taking care of it, and that person is the go-to for that, and being very clear about that. That is going to help you tremendously, especially as new tasks get added, as processes start to take off on their own and start to really establish themselves through the change. This will help you so much. And it is just something that feels simple, but does feel hard in the midst of the chaos and does get forgotten a lot. And the importance of it and the amount that will help you is huge. The second thing, and this one is particularly important if part of your growth or part of the chaos you're introducing involves hiring, but is to understand and be very forthcoming about what your team values are. Now, why this might not feel that important, especially like if you're saying, oh, we've got to get this thing rolling, but why would I need my values really well defined? So this is especially true, again, if you're hiring, but if you're hiring people, you need to be very clear about what's important and what you're looking for in terms of attributes of those people. Because a lot of values, like some values we can teach people, we can train them, but some values just are inherently not there. And again, when you're in the midst of chaos, if you're working to develop somebody whose values are maybe not up to snuff in that area, or you're dealing with, it should be very simple, but this person just doesn't have that thing, right? Like that is introducing more chaos that you didn't have before. It also ensures that as you're growing or as you're asking people to do more, that there is a lot of care taken in those key core values that you've identified already. So making sure you're not dropping the ball or taking a shortcut in something that is very important to the team, to the business, to the organization in order to deliver the products and the services in the way that you want to deliver the products and the services. So being very clear about that is going to be an extremely helpful thing amidst some of the changes that you're going to introduce. The third thing is, what is the most important right now? So this one, you have to be clear about this because a lot of times, especially bigger changes, have several steps and stages to what needs to change. And what ends up happening is that, you've got a pocket of this group working on this one, and then this group is working on this other one. And now they both demand resources that are shared, and they both seem very important. So which one do they go to? So either, the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and, the person who talks the loudest gets all of the attention, or they're being split and there's a lot of unfinished things, or things are taking longer because you don't have the resources there that you need, or you're not supporting one another as a team best. But essentially being very clear about what is the critical thing. If you're doing project management, they call it the critical path. Where's the critical path in this? How do we make sure that we keep the focus on the critical path of the process so that we don't get distracted, so that everybody's on board, that when there's a decision to be made, you sacrifice something from your agenda to meet the thing of the most important thing right now. So that might feel hard, especially as you get into a larger organization, and there seems to be a lot of priorities, but keeping in mind that there really only can be one priority. And when we can remember that, decisions become a lot easier. Stress levels come down quite a bit, and it can help everybody just keep their focus on the thing that you're trying to change, the thing that you're trying to implement, or step 1B of the thing that you're trying to implement, because that's the thing that's most important right now. Now, when you're selecting this, depending on the change and the whole big overall process that you're doing, this could be, a month focus. This could be a 30, 60, 90 day sort of focus change. This could be, a 1 year focus change. It depends on what you're doing and how you're allocating the resources and what the size of the change is. But being very clear that this thing is always the priority, always a priority. That can just help answer so many questions and keep everybody on track, preventing people from jumping the gun on something or pulling resources from each other. So huge, huge, huge help there. And the fourth thing, and this one, well, except for this underpinning thing I'm going to share with you next, this one is probably the most important thing and the thing that is going to hold all the other pieces together. But this is having a very strong communication system. So what do I mean by that? I mean a very strong one-on-one communication system. So leader speaking to others, leaders speaking to each of their team members one-on-one, as well as a very strong group communication system. So team meetings to review the plan, the action plans, and also the top management meeting to make sure everything is on track. So what does this look like in practice? So as a leader of a team, you should be meeting one-on-one with each of your direct reports. So those people that report to you directly that are on your team, making sure that you're taking some time to talk about, is this working? Where are you feeling stress? How does this change feel? As well as checking in on the plans and the achievement of each of their goals, that sort of thing. So you're not just checking in on the goals, you're also checking in on how are we doing? What help do you need? The second part of this group communication. So again, the team that's implementing the change needs to have regular team meetings. In terms of Working Genius, it's like the GET meetings. So like, are we getting it done meetings? So are we doing the actions? If we're not, how are we going to make sure that they get done on time? The other part of this group communication is with the top leadership. These might be the same meetings or they might be the same group of people, but they might not be. But this kind of checking in on how we're doing. Are we on track for real? Are we still meeting the needs that we need to meet with this change and being extremely honest about it? So an extremely honest review of the system, of what's happening, and a very honest problem solving if there's something that's maybe not meeting your needs as well. So these systems being in place before and being planned into the action plans of the project you're working on are huge to the success. They're huge to making sure you're solving the right problem, you're staying on track to solve the right problem and not going into scope creep, and also that you're still on track with what is working and what isn't working, and that you're going to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So having that structure in place, so it's like that 3-layer structure, is going to help keep everything checked and balanced, should identify issues before they become big blowing up sort of issues, and should help the project stay on track and at least be able to make up ground if you do lose track a little. And now the last thing that underpins all of this is trust. So without trust amongst the team, particularly amongst the team that's working together on the new thing, but also about, within that top management team and between the leader and the team members, that trust is how that communication system helps. That's how it all stays together. That's how you make sure you're always solving the right problem, because now you're allowing great conflict. You're allowing that problem solving to happen, and that this isn't working, honest conversation to happen. And that is huge, especially as chaos starts to come in through this change. Because if you remember from probably other podcasts and maybe training sessions you may have been in with me, every time we change, we create, I'm telling you today, chaos, but we're creating stress. It is a stress on our bodies. It's a stress on the team. It's a stress on the business. So we've created stress. And how do people behave when they're stressed? Like they're stressed. So they might get short. They might have less tolerance for problems, less tolerance for certain behaviors around them, less tolerance to be able to hold it all together. So we're already stretched and now we're doing more. So having trust amongst people can take that one level of chaos out of the equation. And that's a huge helper to getting things done correctly, and getting things done on time. So speaking of time, I have intentionally kept this short and quick because it is summer. And you've got a lot going on probably. I know I've got a lot going on. And I want to keep these summer episodes short, quick hitters, things you can listen to in the drive to and from the grocery store or your next meeting, so that you can take quick action and make it happen. Make it happen with your team, make it happen with your business. If you want some help with preparing for a change, reach out to me. I do this kind of work with my team members and with my clients all the time. And this is a portion of and a kind of smaller version of a strategy development session. So this is maybe a mini strategy, you could call it. But this is work that needs to get done and is sometimes easier done with a third-party objective resource like me. So reach out, let's chat through, let's see what you need, let's see what your team needs, and how we can get you having good, positive, less chaotic change. And I will see you on the next episode of the Business Building Blocks podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business Building Blocks podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what's next. If you found value in our conversation, please leave a quick review, like, or share. It helps us reach more amazing listeners like you. For more resources and insights, visit KristinaSchmidt.ca, where you can find tools and support to empower your leadership journey. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.